All right. Well, good evening and welcome everybody. My name is Wayne Davis. I'm the chair of the board of the Lexington Arts and Crafts Society, known as LexArt. And LexArt Inspires is our monthly program on inspiration, creativity, perception. We have it the third Thursday of every month. We've been on for 6 or 7 months now, and it's been a tremendously exciting series for us to share with you. It's our way of reaching out and trying to maintain community while we've got this pandemic going on. And we do look forward when the time comes, which we hope will be um, relatively soon, certainly sometime this year, when we can start doing these programs live in our new Molly Harding Nye gallery. And so that will be a fun thing for us to be doing. So our topic tonight, big, bold creativity. Now, creativity is something that can be intimidating or elusive, even for accomplished artists. And this evening is designed to help you expand creativity, whether you consider yourself an artist or you're a creative neophyte. Just speaking personally, I'm not an artist. And for years, I tortured myself saying, no, you're not a creative person. Well, in fact, actually, I just express my creativity in other ways than my hands. And I think those of you who know me kind of know what I'm talking about. So I've been tremendously excited to, as we've gotten this program together, in part because with a program around creativity, we ought to be changing up what we're doing every time. And tonight, we are going to change up the format. There's going to be a little bit less talking by our guests and more interactivity and more conversation and more things for all of you to be doing, for you to join in the creative making. I'm tremendously excited about that. Our guests tonight, Rochelle Seltzer and Victoria Nasson. Um, this is going to be plenty of hands-on, and I hope that you emerge after an hour and a half or so, delighted, excited, surprised, and energized. I'm sure you will. Rochelle Seltzer is a creative core coach and the author of Live Big, a manifesto for a creative life. And we'll get to see a cover shot of that wonderful book. Her mission is to unleash the creative capacity inside women everywhere, and actually men too. I've read the book, it's wonderful. So that everyone can bring out their greatness into the world. She teaches and supports accomplished women to move past what keeps them blocked, stuck, and small to create and live their biggest, best lives. An important part of the remarkable personal journey that led Rochelle to doing her distinctive coaching and working was daring to become an artist. So besides being an author and coach, she is an artist. Our second guest, Victoria Nasson, who I'm proud to say is a member of the LexArt Board of Directors, and she actually came up with the idea for this program. So thank you very much for that, Victoria. He's the founder and president of NK&A, which is a marketing consultancy that ignites brand momentum and turns creativity, energy, and business know-how into success stories. This is for small and mid-sized companies. She's known for her unbridled enthusiasm as well as her ability to problem solve in the moment, which, as I've seen lots over the last months as I've had the opportunity to work with Victoria, and it has been a real pleasure, I must say. She is a real dynamo who makes good things happen. So Victoria can be found in the wee hours of the morning, leading her squad of gym rats in a sweat fest, consuming TED videos or snapping pictures on her early morning jaunts. She's on Instagram. She does painting on her own, and she loves, more than anything, rich conversation. Now let me turn it over to Victoria and to Rochelle. Take us away.
Thank you, Wayne. Welcome, everybody. It's great to see all these titles and faces. And we're really excited tonight to inspire creativity. And we know it can be intimidating. So Wayne wanted to take out that anxiety for everybody. And he has offered a money back guarantee on tonight's program. And if you're 100% creative by the end, he will refund you the cost of tonight's program. So I think that will make everybody feel a lot easier and more willing to create. So I want to start with Rochelle's story, because I think a lot of times when we think about that moment where we're sitting in front of a blank canvas or a piece of paper or about to embark on a creative endeavor, we have that moment where we are halted up and we're stymied. And that happens also in other parts of our lives. And what led Rochelle to this journey of writing a book was a moment in time where she felt incredibly stuck. And that was after a 27-year career with an award-winning design firm, offices on Newbury Street, a list of clients that anybody would be envious of. And she found herself completely stymied and stuck. And so, Rochelle, I'm going to let you start your story right there. How did you go from this award-winning design firm to the author of a book on creativity?
Well, you're absolutely right. I was stuck, maybe not even in the way that would be obvious to anybody, but it was my little secret. I was a designer for 3 decades and I loved my business. My creation was always about solving my clients' problems. Give me an assignment, I could do it. I could not create from anything in my own heart. It was a big, big block that I had. And it was it was something that I struggled with. And it was when in 2010, I hired a coach. First time in my life that I hired a coach. And it was in that sort of personal discovery work with him and thinking hard about what was really important to me that I realized that I was, much as I'd loved my business, I was ready for something that was going to light me up even more. It had been 27 years that I owned the firm. And so I sold the business and not knowing what I was going to do next, sort of trusted that I'd find my way. And my coach invited me out to Los Angeles to a workshop called Intuitive Painting. And I have to tell you, I was completely terrified that I would not be able to do it, that I would be, the one person in the room that would be, a failure. But I screwed up my courage and I went, and it was life-changing. It was life-changing to have this experience and to learn from this teacher. And what I realized is that I really needed to figure out what was this block? What was this difficulty I had? And I studied with him for 2 years. He's a psychiatrist who uses creativity as his modality. So I studied psychocreativity, and I studied to become an instructor of his method of intuitive painting. And it was at the end of that I realized that what I really wanted to do was become a coach myself, to bring everything I learned into the lives of other people so that they could discover what I had been on this journey to discover. And from that, the book emerged.
It's a fantastic journey that you went on. And the result is, the manifesto for a creative life. So let's get everybody going with some juices flowing. I think we'll start off with a quick poll. So what will happen, everybody, is Wayne's going to flash up 2 questions on the screen. You'll have a minute to answer the questions. Take your time. At the end, he'll be able to publish our results. And so while we're waiting for the poll to come up and for everybody to answer the questions, Rochelle, tell us a little bit about your book. Like, what was the idea and how does it work?
Yeah, well, so Live Big grew out of this exploration that I was doing about my own life, thinking I came up with this idea that coining the value and the importance of the work that I did as living big, because I realized that I had been living a bit small and I had learned to expand all of that. And then I was challenged one day to describe how was I living big? What did it mean to live big? And it was in that exploration of what did I do to live big that became the sort of core of what turned into my book. So there are 20 chapters in the book. They're divided into 10 chapters of the being of living big and the doing of living big. Because I believe that we're human beings and we spend way more time doing than being. And it's how do we come into the world? How do we show up? Who are we being in our lives? That has a huge, huge impact on living big. And so the first 10 chapters of, are things like slowing down and being still, living in the present. There's focus on gratitude, of being true to your heart. These are the sort of state of being things. And one of the most important ones is living without fear, because fear is a huge, huge problem. In the doing part of the book, we have things like create, of course, listening to your intuition, super important. You'll hear me talk about intuition a number of times tonight. Being bold when it's the right time to be bold, being resilient, learning to play more so that we're not so perfectionistic, but we're able to play and test and explore. So that's in the doing of living big. And every chapter has a set of exercises and practices so that you can bring the ideas that I briefly described to you into your life so you can actually practice it. And that's what I'm the most excited about the book. Yeah.
So Wayne, thank you, Rochelle, for telling us. Wayne, do we have the results?
Yes, we do. Let me.
Okay, now I'm going to just let people know you cannot submit for a refund if you don't feel fulfilled if you haven't entered some chats in the chat room. So as you see the results come up, feel free to respond and share your thoughts. And as we go through the evening, if you have questions, submit them and Wayne will be watching and be able to share those questions with us. So Rochelle, what's your thoughts? We're seeing here people, majority of this audience feels very or moderately creative.
Yeah.
And, we're seeing that people are feeling occasionally stuck. Scrolling down here. And I'm surprised by the number, how many people are rarely or never stuck, 33%. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think we have a particular audience here, don't we? This is exciting. It's wonderful to see. Nobody said that they were not at all creative, which makes me super, super happy. And even a few people who said wildly creative, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But this idea of being stuck, occasionally being stuck, is totally normal. And there are ways to learn to be able to move through that. So
I think you're going to show us some of those ways.
That's my goal.
We're going to ask everyone to get out their pieces of paper, your favorite writing utensil, and Rochelle, you're going to start this group getting creative. Is everybody ready? That's a resounding yes. So let's get going.
And Wayne is going to put up a slide that's going to help us in a minute. But the idea of this first exercise is I'm asking everybody to write a poem. A poem, you say? A 3-minute poem. It does not have to rhyme. I've done this with hundreds of people and they're always amazing. So you can't flub this. I promise you that you can't flub this. And I'm going to tell you what I want you to write about. So you don't have to just make something up out of thin air. So the theme is to write about who you are and how you create. And imagine that you're going to introduce yourself to somebody just with this 3-minute poem. And I'm going to set my timer. And I will tell you that you can start now and I'll let you know when the 3 minutes is up. And I think that we've got a slide that reminds you of what to do. And I think we might even end up with some music to fill the air. We'll see. That works.
Sure. Why don't you get started and I'll.
Oh, absolutely. Everybody should be writing. Yes. Who you are, how you create. And 3 minutes is a lot. You can do plenty of writing in 3 minutes. See how we're doing. We still have a whole minute to go. All right, we are just about out of time, and I'll let you know what we're going to do next. So if you can put down your pens, even if you haven't finished, it's fine. We're going to send everybody into breakout rooms. And for those of you who are familiar with this, you'll know it's really easy. You're going to be automatically sent to a breakout room. You don't really need to do anything. You might, depending on how Zoom is behaving tonight, you might see a little window that invites you to accept your invitation. Once you get there, you'll be in a small group with 2 other people, randomly selected. And the idea is that each of you should read your poem to the other 2 people. Just take turns. We're going to have 5 minutes. And just share, introduce yourselves through your poems. If you've got a little extra time, you can enjoy that too. And you will automatically come back into the room, so you don't have to do anything on the other side to rejoin us. So I think Wayne's going to send everybody off.
And feel
Okay,
free to take extra time to introduce yourselves to each other and
Yeah.
you know.
Enjoy.
okay, here we go. Okay, and if you see a join button, you can click that. If you don't jump on it right away, it will eventually join you automatically to a room.
Hi, Wayne. I didn't know if Victoria was going into a room, and I didn't write a poem, so I thought I would let them all just.
It looks like she did. I'm sorry. One of the participants had some trouble, and
Oh,
they found it. So I hopped into another room to.
good, good. Yeah, if you want me to go into a room, just stick me somewhere.
You
That's-
actually, it was.
I think I was in 4.
Yeah. I don't know what to tell you to do, but how to.
Don't worry. I'll just hang.
How are we doing on the time?
I didn't time this one. I thought you were putting, oh my God, I didn't time this one. Shoot.
Okay. We probably have let's say it's 2 more minutes.
Let's say it's 1 more minute. I think we're fine. But
Okay.
I thought that you have to put a countdown thing that says you've got 30 seconds or 58 seconds.
Why
don't you put that on now?
Yes.
And then
Yes,
just bring people back. They won't know.
I will do that.
Sorry, I thought that when you set a breakout room, you set it for a set amount of time. That's why I didn't time it.
I'm sorry.
That's why I've always seen it when
I had forgotten.
That's fine.
That we had discussed that. Okay.
Okay.
So
Don't worry about it. It's good that we're talking then. I don't know that we have anything else we have to time after this. No. Oh, no, we do. We have the 2-minute drawings, but I can do those. Okay. Yeah, perfect.
okay. So you got that message?
I do. I see it right on top of my screen, even though I'm not in a breakout room.
Okay.
I think that's good. Nobody will know whether we timed it accurately or not.
Oh well. Nothing.
You know what I said? We're just rolling with it, Wayne. We're just like rolling with it.
No, yeah, my anxiety level has gone down quite a bit because every time there's something goes not quite according to plan.
Whatever.
That's
People are very forgiving. It doesn't matter.
yeah. Okay. As soon as my clock turns to 7:35, I'm going to close all the rooms.
I didn't even pay attention to what time we started.
So, all right. I think that's a good 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Oh, now it says all breakout rooms will close in 59 seconds. Oh,
Oh, people are coming back.
yes. Okay. Well,
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Need Victoria. There she is. She used to be next to me now, but you're muted, Victoria.
I'm back.
Hello.
Hello. So I hope everybody enjoyed their breakout rooms as much as I did. I really got to know the 2 people just from their poems. I felt like I, would not have normally evoked that level of connection without their poems. So I thought that was a great exercise, Rochelle, and I hope other people had the same experience. I want to remind people that the chat is open if they want to add any comments in. So for me, whenever I work with Rochelle, when she's like, we're going to do a 3-minute poem, I find it hard. I always get through. But there are other times where I'm stuck and I call Rochelle to help me get unstuck, to unleash sort of the Wayne-esque type of creativity in work. How do I problem solve something? How do I take something to the next level when my brain is locked down and really not seeing all the possibilities? So tonight, we asked Rochelle if she would teach us all her amazing technique to get unstuck, to see possibilities where it's maybe blocked for us with
Victoria, I can't hear you. Can other people hear you?
I can hear.
Me too.
Yeah, yes, we can.
Yeah.
Maybe your volume is up.
Yes, I can.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. I'm glad that everybody can hear. So we're going to ask Rochelle to teach us this technique that I was just talking about to help us get unstuck, called a discovery dozen.
Happy to do that. So this is a technique that I use a lot. It has a lot of different applications. We're going to practice one way of experiencing it, but I do use it as a technique throughout the book in many of the chapters, and you can learn more about it that way if you are so interested to get it. The idea is that I want you to all have a paper and pencil again, clean sheet of paper. I'm going to give you a partial sentence, a kind of fill in the blank sentence. And the idea is if you would make either number 1 to 12 down the side of your page or 12 little tick marks, as the name conveys, Discovery Dozen, you're going to have a dozen, as in 12, different completions to the sentence. So Wayne's going to put a slide up with the sentence that we're going to all complete, and I'll tell you what that is, and I'll give you a few examples. But let me first just say, the idea of this process is you don't have to write the full sentence every time. I want you to say it in your mind and then finish that sentence with a different ending each time. And tap into your intuition, write quickly, don't judge it. It can be outrageous, it can be ridiculous, it can be serious, it can be anything. And the concept here is that you want to just keep going and going and going until you get 12 completions. If you get stuck in the middle, which people often do when this is not familiar territory to them, or they don't tap into their intuition that easily, you just say, okay, blah, 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 go to the next. And really push yourself, even if it's a little uncomfortable, to come up with 12 completions.
I'll give you guys a little cheat sheet. Like if I'm on number 10 and I'm stuck, I'm like, oh, I'll skip 10 and I'll go to 11. And that sometimes just like unlocks my brain.
Because I have to get to 12. And here's the trick. There's always more there. There's always more. You're never going to run out. So
are they allowed to do more if they come up with more?
You know, I have no objection to that. If you have 13 or 15, just keep going. And here's the partial sentence, and I'll give you a few examples. So the sentence begins with, if I knew that nobody would judge me, I would. So I would create.
Oh,
And it's on the screen, so you can see it. You can see the idea. So if I knew no one would judge me, I'd create freely. Or maybe you would write, if I knew nobody would judge me, I'd experiment with glass blowing or new paints or something different. If I knew nobody would judge me, maybe I'd try out for a choir. What would you do? What 12 different things can you think of that you would do if nobody would judge you in terms of creation in your life?
And Rochelle, how long do people have to do this?
Well, I don't usually put a timer on, but I'm going to urge us to go for 5 minutes and really see how quickly you can do this. And if everybody raises their hands and says that they're done in 3, awesome. But let's go for 5. I've got a timer, Wayne.
I'm going to do this one too.
Good, 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 good. And we've got a little quietness. So just sink into it. And if anybody finds that they're struggling or has a problem or a question, just put something in the chat for me. I'll keep my eye on that. See a lot of heads down, writing going on. That's great. So just over a minute left. See if you can wrap this up. See, we've got half a minute left, everyone. All right, we have completed our 5 minutes. So here's the thing about the Discovery Dozen. I've given you one way to use it. Let's say you were trying to generate ideas like, oh, what am I going to write that article about to my, or what am I going to make my next painting about, or any idea that you're trying to generate. What am I going to serve for dinner to company if and when we get to do that again, right? This is a way that you can generate ideas. So the Discovery Dozen is a really good way to say, oh, things that I could bake, for my family, and then just come up with 12 different ideas that way if you're just not sure, if you're feeling stuck. So there are many, many ways to use this tool. But the reason that the 12 answers are so important is the first couple of answers are usually the things that are top of mind for us, the things that are easy. It's as we continue writing and go down the list is where some of the surprises come up. Usually it's in the middle or toward the end. All of a sudden it's like, wait, where did that come from? And that comes from inside of you, from a place that you're not really that much in touch with. So I would like to ask Victoria if she'd read us the last 3 on her list. And then maybe a couple of other people would do that too.
Okay, so the last 3 on my list, if this
But read the whole sentence, Victoria.
I forget what the sentence is.
If I knew nobody would judge me, I would.
If I knew nobody would judge me, I would sing outside the shower. If I knew nobody would judge me, I would have a quieter mind. And my last one was, and I think this is coming off of sort of a sense of relief that I felt yesterday. If I knew nobody was judging me, I would speak up when somebody is out of line, spewing hate, or saying something objectionable to me.
Yeah. That's
So
a big
those are
one.
the last 3.
That's a big one. Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? We've got 2 screens here. We could do the participant raising your hand in the panel thing, or if somebody just wants to wave at me, I'll try to go between the 2 screens and and look for somebody brave enough to share. It's really not a lot of bravery, is it? Just to share a few things. All right, Marie Forbes. You have to unmute yourself, Marie. We can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Now I can. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So this is really very interesting. I'm so glad that I've signed up for this. If I knew nobody would judge me, I would try to jog. I would go back to college for an MFA. I would try to be a better mother. I would do more to help others. I play the piano every day. I play golf more often. I get better at yoga. I go to the yoga classes. I get more athletic. I try to play pickleball and volunteer somehow. I'd learned to stop.
What?
I'd
Sometimes
learned
we
to
can't read
stop-
our own writing. This is okay.
I'd learned to stop being so emotional.
Oh.
Those are fantastic. I'll go jogging with you.
In Florida.
I'll be there in a minute.
But you know, the part about being so emotional, and you know, it's very hard these days. And I'm tired of crying.
Yeah.
Yep. I
Yeah.
think you're not alone in that
And I
one.
want to be stronger than that. I want to stop the crying because then I'm useless.
Hmm.
And
Well,
I'm
we have a
actually
long
really-
conversation, Marie, about, I've got lots of techniques for how to deal with tough emotion. We
Yeah.
don't have time to go into that tonight, but
Sure.
it is an issue that is
Yeah.
common right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Somebody said yesterday was good crying. I agree with that.
Carolyn wrote yesterday was a good day for crying, and she's absolutely right.
I know.
Do we
Yeah.
want one other volunteer? Was there somebody else who raised their hand?
Yeah, I'll raise my
I
hand.
see Betsy.
That's
Yes.
my friend Betsy.
Yeah. My last three, I'll just give my last three.
Okay.
You're gonna think I'm crazy, but this is where I am. The first one is if I knew nobody would judge me, I would smoke weed. I'm 84, so if I knew nobody would judge me, I try to set my feet on the ground of downtown Boston, in a neighborhood, I mean.
Okay.
And the other one is I would try to communicate with people of color by being and by listening.
Awesome.
Those are amazing answers. I don't know, creations. And I would just say to all of us, I'm going to challenge myself. You know, Betsy, you're 84, you said? First of all,
Amazing.
can you
You
scare
look great.
treatment regime in the chat? But anyways, I'm going to say that one of the things that's interesting is, you know, I said I would speak up when somebody was out of line. Marie talked about some things that she would do that would invigorate herself, give herself new opportunity. And Betsy, you talked about, you know, being bold and doing things that hold us back. And at 84 or 53, we only have so much time left. And why not? So maybe we throw out a little challenge and say, pick one of the things on your list and try it.
Yeah.
I love that idea, Victoria. Everybody can find at least one thing on their list.
Yep.
And
So just in the chat, if you want to share any of your other, you know, big, bold ideas or something that you're going to be, you will take on doing, please go ahead and do that. We want to thank everybody for being so brave and volunteering, because it's not so easy, but that was the first step for Betsy and Marie today. So good job, you guys. Rochelle, I think we have time for one last creative sprint before we get into our Q&A and our final poll. So do you want to take us to the next creative?
Yes. I can't wait. So I'm a big believer also in creative expression. And we've got a lot of creative people here, self-declared creatives. And I know that that takes lots of forms, but we can all do things that we don't think that we can do. So this might seem like a challenge for some of you, but I have total confidence. There's a slide that Wayne's going to put up that's going to show you how to divide. You need yet another piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. And we're going to do 3 2-minute drawings. And I will tell you what you will draw. So the idea is to either fold your page in thirds or just throw a line across about 1/3 of the way down and 2/3 of the way down. So you have 3 segments, like a little diagram. And I'm going to put the timer on for 2 minutes. I'm going to tell you what I want you to draw in the first segment at the top. And then I'll give you a different subject for the middle section and a different one for the lowest third. So if everybody has that paper and they've roughly divided it into thirds in some fashion, that would be great. And the top third can be absolutely abstract, can be done with just a pen. You don't need paints, you don't need crayons, you don't need colors, anything. How would you draw excitement? So
Excitement.
draw excitement in the top section of your paper.
Excitement.
Excitement, yes. What is excitement? Could it look like if you were just to draw it abstractly or put
Ooh, I
something
just-
in there that visually conveys excitement to you?
Rochelle, no, let's use a blue pen.
Blue pen is totally good.
The sound of the bird.
Somebody's drawing with vigor. All right, we've got 20 seconds left. All right, we have spent our 2 minutes. We're going to switch emotional gears. In the middle section, I want you to draw nervous. What does that look like? Nervous.
Ooh.
That's exciting.
Top one was excitement. The middle section is nervous.
My computer's completely dead now.
It seems to go a little fun.
It's a mess.
Okay, we have 30 seconds left. And now we're going to do our third drawing at the bottom third of your page. Draw silly. And we've got 2 minutes to draw silly or silliness.
Say the word again, please.
Silly, S-I-L-L-Y.
Silly, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, last 20 seconds. All right, we're almost down to done. Okay, so what I'm hoping, and we'll see how this works. I'd love to see what you all did. I know we have these little tiles on our screens, but if everybody could hold theirs up, I'm going to try and do a screenshot. And I'm going to need to do 2 because we've got 2 pages. So if you don't mind holding up your drawing, I'm going to look at them. Oh my gosh, these look amazing. Can everybody, Christine and Louise and people who don't have them up, Barbara, Allison, you're all on my first page here, Marie. Almost everybody's got them up. Okay.
And
Betsy. All
yeah,
right.
I would encourage people to, in the upper right, click on the gallery view so you
Oh,
can
yes,
see as
yes.
many squares as
Gallery view.
possible.
Yes, thank you, Wayne. Okay, so I am going to do a screenshot now, and then I'm going to go to the second screen. I'm going to do another one. Can you all hold them up? Thank you. Some shy people. Oh, Mary, and I didn't quite get the second one. Could you hold them up again? Thank you. Okay. And I don't know why you have an echo off.
So I'm gonna have to put my dad on the spot. Dad, hold up your middle drawing. My dad's a leader. And if you look,
Oh, like father, like daughter.
we both did something very, very similar. I'm super freaked out right now.
Wow. And yes, I see another one that's like that. Did anybody else do that kind of jaggy line for the middle?
I did it for
Yeah.
excitement.
You did it for excitement. How did it
Interesting.
How did it feel to actually be able to try to express those emotions just through marks on a page? If anybody feels like sharing.
I usually don't think of doing it graphically. I use words.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is another way that you can actually just find an outlet for expression for how you're feeling and exploration. Great. Great.
I thought it was very interesting. I just felt like making lines And with each section, there was a real feeling.
Good, good,
Reaction.
wonderful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, so some of us, even if we think we're artists and we paint realistic paintings of landscapes or whatever, this is a way to just use your creativity that you may never have thought of before.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, yes.
Why did you decide to ask those three: excitement, nervous, and silly? Were there others that you could have chosen, or was there a reason
chosen
for that?
anything? We could have chosen fear. We could have chosen delight. We could have chosen anything. I was trying to come up with three things that would be distinctive from one another.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Anybody else have a question or a comment? Okay. So I think Victoria.
So yes, we're at the end of our interactive, well, no. We're at the very beginning of the truly interactive part of our evening. And before we start that, to help with our money back guarantees, Wayne is going to put up a last poll. And while we're doing that, please feel free to private message Wayne, myself, Rochelle, if you are bashful, or post questions right in the chat for all of us to read. And we're going to move after this next poll into a Q&A where you can ask Rochelle questions about how she coaches or what problems people have with creativity. If you're having a creative stuck moment, maybe she can help you think of some interesting ways to move on. And I think Wayne indicated to me that we might already have a couple questions. So let's start off with the poll.
And don't let me forget that there's something that I wanted to give to everybody before we.
Yes. Would you be able to put the poll?
Yes, I'm sorry. There we go.
How inspired are you now?
If anybody's new device, you might want to mute your section. All getting it.
That question is, if nobody would judge you.
Okay, we ready to end the polling? We've got just about everyone in now. Okay.
Right, so I don't know why we seem to have an echo. Is that something that Wayne might be able to understand, or maybe we can just mute everyone?
I'll mute everyone, and then the two of you can
Unmute.
unmute. Let me. My
Oh,
screen
we
doesn't.
have a question.
Jane, it might be because you're sharing your sound.
Okay. Okay.
Ellen was kind enough to submit a question. She asked, what if instead of being stuck, we have too many things and have trouble choosing?
Mhm.
That's
So
like a
this-
different form of paralyzation, creative paralyzation.
Good question.
It is a good question, and it happens to many of us. Honestly, this is a good way to use the Discovery Dozen. What do I most want to do now? What's most important to me now? Or even asking, why am I feeling scattered and having too many thoughts in my mind? Those kinds of things all make good Discovery Dozens as a kind of diagnostic, as a kind of way to sort things out for yourself. So that's one thing that you can do. The other thing is to make some priorities. Oh, I most feel like doing this, and then next I want to do that. So that I think that if we can really find the deepest desires that we have, that's really where you want to go. Is that
But
helpful?
you have to give yourself permission to do that.
Of course you do. Good point, Marianne. Yes. Yes. That's why I'm saying if you can get comfortable with this discovery dozen tool, you can use it as a way to try to figure things out for yourself when you feel overwhelmed about anything. Yeah.
Rochelle, I know in the book there's a chapter about, or an exercise about embracing change. And, you know, we have endured a lot of change recently.
Yes.
What are some thoughts and tips about how change can advance creativity and how it can stymie creativity?
Gee, how am I going to approach that question? Say it again, Victoria.
You know, change can often stymie, or it can also be something that inhibits our creativity or enhances our creativity. And how do we deal with change and still maintaining our creativity through change?
So change is usually uncomfortable for most people. There are a few people say, oh, I love change. But for most of us, even good change can be a challenge because we're creatures of habit. We're used to certain things. And this kind of just upsets our equilibrium. So I think the first step for me is to understand the emotions there and understand where they're sitting. If there's fear, if there's resistance, if there's anxiety, like what is it really about? That would be a time that you could use the Discovery Dozen to get in touch with that. And then I always say being in a state of curiosity is fantastic. So where are my opportunities here? How could I look at this differently? What if it's possible that? Just asking yourself some good open-ended questions like that help you see maybe there are, you know, we've all seen some silver linings, as it were, from COVID, right? So like, what are the possibilities I might not be seeing now? If we ask ourselves these questions, we can often find ways to think about that change that are not, you know, our first reflexive response to it. What do other people think? Anybody else have some helpful ideas or concerns I might be able to comment on?
Well, I was just going to say, you often suggest that people create from an emotion, right? So identifying the emotion that they're having and using that to foster
You're absolutely right. Thank you for the good reminder, Victoria. I've trained you well, huh? Yeah. So just like we did with the drawings around emotions, what can you do with that emotion? Maybe in the springtime, you want to go and dig in your garden. Maybe you want to write, pull out your journal and write. Maybe you want to turn on some music and dance it out, physically express what you're feeling, whether it's languid and moody or whether it's angry and frustrated, whatever it may be. It's a way that you can, and one of my favorite stories is that when my grandson was born, and I was so filled with relief and joy that those feelings, even the good feelings, were kind of overwhelming. And so I just started writing poems because I wanted it to go somewhere. I wanted to do something with that energy. So using your emotions as a resource that you can create with is really incredibly helpful, whether they're challenging emotions or wonderful emotions. You can actually expand good emotion by using it as a creative opportunity. It could be in your kitchen, the way that you cut up vegetables and make something gorgeous out of it in your salad. It could be any kind of creation. It doesn't mean that you have to walk in a studio or do something that people consider traditionally a way to create. Yeah. I did see a note in the chat about a place to purchase the book. The book is available on Amazon. You can usually get it in a day. So if you just put in Live Big, Manifesto for a Creative Life, or Live Big, Rochelle Seltzer, it will come right up.
But didn't you also want to give a gift away tonight?
I do have something. So in the book, there are some gifts that you can, that you have access to, but I want to give you all the link so that you can get them for yourself, whether you buy the book or not.
Oh.
There's a guide to self-love and self-critic. And if you just go to thelivebigbook.com/gifts, you can get that very, very, I think, important topic you can learn about. And you can also get a couple of meditations that are there as well.
Also,
And on that site, there's a place that you can click directly to the Amazon page as well if you want to buy the book.
and Dan put the link. Thank you, Dan, for putting that in there. Carolyn asked a great question. Is there a way to get around being judgmental about your creative efforts?
Yeah, that's a big one. And this is this sense of perfectionism that many of us have. Comparison. Is this really good enough? Is it as good as somebody else's whatever? This feeds right into this little guide to self-love and the self-critic. These are tremendous ways that our self-critics tries to come in and sabotage us and limit us. So when we actively increase self-love, and that guide will tell you really wonderful ways to do that and to think about self-love, you can better understand and manage your self-critic. And these are important abilities for everything we do in our lives, whether we're doing things that are creative where we're judgmental, or speaking up in a meeting, or anything in our lives, having a conversation with somebody that's uncomfortable, any of those things where we judge ourselves, where we're fearful. Understanding how to build self-love and how to understand and manage your self-critic will be incredibly valuable.
Wayne, I think you have a question.
Sure, I do. And I would encourage others, if you have one, pop it into the chat or just send a message to Victoria. I'm curious about the role of rules, limits, process, constraints in engendering creativity.
Well, I actually think that constraints foster more creativity. When we have some limitations, if we have a limitation of what can you do with these 2 colors on an 8x10 paper, it's different than having, you can do anything with any number of colors where we can feel overwhelmed. So sometimes giving ourselves some parameters and some limitations can really be like, what's the most we can do within these confines? But then there's also the learning the rules and then breaking them, right? So there are certain rules about color, or there's certain rules about all sorts of things that when you really understand them, you can then say, but I don't have to, I can actually find interesting ways to break those rules. And that's part of, I was painting a few nights ago with some of my classmates who were between semesters, and we just gathered together. And I don't know why, but I decided I was going to paint with one color and one brush on 4 different canvases that I was in the middle of. It was just an idea that came to me, and actually was an incredibly exciting way to approach my couple of hours in the studio. So sometimes we can give ourselves limitations that where we can reap some really wonderful, not all wonderful outcomes, but that's part of the willingness to be less judgmental about the creative efforts, and saying it's just if I can experiment and play and allow myself the freedom to explore, often we get to something that we never would have gotten to otherwise. That's really exciting. And the other things are just things we learned along the way.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I sent a photograph of an abstract painting, acrylic painting that I did to a friend of mine in New York who's been taking some very serious classes. We went to the conservatory together. We played piano together. He was brilliant. He is brilliant. Anyway, I sent him this picture of this painting that I did, and I loved it. And he wrote back and said, very nice. What's the backstory? And I said, just having fun with paints. And I was confused and kind of hurt by that. What's the backstory? As if there had to be a reason for what I painted, because what I did was something that I thought was beautiful. And I was taken back by it.
Yeah.
And I still feel that. He's a dear friend since we started college together in 1969, and he is a brilliant guy. But I felt hurt by that because there was no backstory. I just said it's having fun with paints.
A few things come to mind for me. One is some people are very analytical and in their heads.
Yeah.
And they feel like they don't know how to respond unless they understand, quote, the backstory. So it's more about him than you, I would suggest.
Okay.
The other thing is that he may not have meant it in any way to be hurtful to you or critical. And I can understand how you could sense that about it, but that might not have been his intention.
Got it. Thank you.
So I'm just going to invite you to own the pleasure you have in what you created. And for that to be more than satisfying enough. Because the truth is we can never make anything that's created, like go into any museum of any quote unquote great piece of art, there will be people that swoon over it and there'll be people that don't love it or don't like it at all. So we can never please everybody and that shouldn't be our aim.
Thank you.
I wanted to go back to Wayne's comment about constraints or rules. And Wayne, you and I are similar in that a lot of times our creativity comes out in large groups in facilitating or bringing people together. And one of the things that I like to do, and I often do it by myself too, is if I'm feeling like the oppression of rules or, something being sort of weighing down on me, I ask people to get up and shift one chair to the right or one chair to the left so that they can have it in perspective. And when I'm on my own, not often, but if I'm feeling that jammed up, I will get up from my desk and go around to the other side and sit on the other side and work on the other side for a little while. And what I find is if you literally change your perspective, it helps you shift your thinking. And so that might also help when people are feeling that sense of intimidation or roadblocks to shift yourself, not feeling like you have to pick up and go someplace completely new, but literally shifting to the right or the left or turning your body in a new direction when you're stuck. It just helps.
That's a great suggestion.
Nice. Very good.
Unless you just keep moving and moving.
Then you should stop. Any other questions that we have tonight?
Somebody said, is it good to set a time each day to get creative? It's a really interesting question because there are many, many, many writers and artists who talk about their process and their method, and it's very individual. There's some people who say, writers traditionally have been quoted as saying, I sit down from 9 and I don't get up till 11, and no matter how much I write, at least I've sat in a chair from 9 to 11 and I've moved my pen. Some people say I write X number of words a day, and when I hit that, I just get up, and sometimes it takes me an hour and sometimes it takes me longer. Everybody has their own creative process. If it appeals to you to pick a time, to say, well, I'm going to get up, I'm going to have my coffee, I'm going to spend the next, piece of my morning being creative. If that makes you happy, if that gets you excited, and if that kind of pattern and routine works for you, go for it. I know people that go to their studios and whether they paint or not, they say, I'm just going to put my time in on the studio. And sometimes they just clean the studio. And sometimes they look through art books and then they wait for inspiration to come, but they need that regularity. But we're all different. I think it's knowing yourself and finding what works for you.
Rochelle, you often talk a lot about the word should. And maybe, you can talk a little bit about, I'm making her laugh because she's always
catching people with that word.
So maybe you just want to talk about what that does to creativity and why that word should be examined.
Should be examined.
Be examined.
So I think that my coach used to say, stop shoulding yourself.
Right.
Because it's this very self-critical word that we beat ourselves up with. And so I should blah, blah, blah. It's like, well, I could. Or if I really care about this, I will. There's other ways to think about the things that we usually attach the word should to. And I think by trying consciously not to use that word, it's another way to build self-love and to be easier on ourselves, gentler on ourselves, and connect more to really desire rather than anybody else's or our own shoulds. So.
I think we have time for one last question, if there is one. Loretta, Rochelle, don't should all over you. Are there any last questions for tonight before we let you all go and create on your own?
Don't leave me.
Well, maybe we can do this again sometime.
No.
So
I am delighted that people feel inspired, even a few wildly, lots of moderates. So that was really what Victoria and I were trying to design the evening to do, to help people to feel inspired and to maybe learn some new things that they didn't know before. So that's great.
Well, it's terrifically successful. Thank you so very much.
Wonderfully successful. It was really very good. Gave me a lot to think about.
Oh, I'm very happy. That's great.
A lot out of this, yeah.
Well, this is really wonderful because you already have everyone breaking the rules. I'm the one who's supposed to say thank you. But it's great to have everyone hopping in to do that. So let me just more formally do so. Rochelle and Victoria, thank you both for a really wonderful evening. I also want to thank all of you who have joined in and participated this evening. You made it very special. And a special thank you and welcome to those of you who joined us for the first time. We will be back next month, the third Thursday, again, February 18th. We'll be crossing boundaries. This is another form of creativity, is when you put things together or cross things up that don't normally connect. And we'll be doing crossing boundaries, creating cultural connections through dance. And so this is yet another new venture for LexArt. Dance isn't an art form that we normally get involved with, but we figured let's see what we can learn about how creativity happens in the dance world. So that's coming up next month. I would invite all of you as we close. Something that we like to do on these LexArt Inspires is we leave the Zoom open, and it's kind of like as you're walking out of the auditorium, you may run into some friends you haven't seen in a while. So feel free to stick around on the Zoom if you'd like to, and chat with Rochelle and Victoria, or if you see someone you haven't seen in a number of months and you want to just say hi, feel free to do that as well. Thank you again, and good night, everyone.